Hello and welcome to Make It Happen with Will Polston. I'm Will Polston and this is episode number 11 and we're going to be talking about setting goals for success. So goals. As you hear the word goals, what's the first thing that you think of? Now, if you're an avid football fan, you might be thinking of 3 white posts and a net, or it could be a vision of your favourite sports car, a dream watch. It could be the desire to make a difference to other people. You might picture a dream home, living with your family in your dream home, the ability to maybe provide them with whatever it is that they want and what you want, or maybe goals for you consist of being able to travel the world and have incredible experiences whenever you want. But I want you to understand one very important thing. Achieving any goal is about changing one thing, and that's the way that you feel for the better. So any goal you ever think of, when you boil it down, what you're looking to do is change the way you feel. And what I want to start by doing, in this particular episode, I'm going to be giving you some very practical ways of being able to not only set goals, because lots of people set goals, but very few people actually achieve their goals. So I'm going to give you some processes to set and achieve goals. But before we go into that, I want to talk about something called the ultimate success formula. And this formula, these steps that you go through, you can achieve any goal if you stick to these. So step 1 is to know your outcome, know what it is that you want. Number 2 is know the reasons why you want this outcome, because if you have a big enough why, you can overcome almost any how. Number 3 is to take action towards it, take intelligent action, and we'll be talking a little bit more about what intelligent action is a little bit later on in the episode. Then identify the results you're getting by comparing those results to where you started and where you want to be. So basically, are you getting closer to where you want to be? We're checking in and seeing how we're getting on. The next step is to tweak and refine the approach to be able to be continually advancing, continually moving forward. And then finally is be held accountable. If you have that process, you can literally fail your way to success. Now, I don't want you to have to fail over and over and over again. I want us to try and take the easier route if possible. And some of the tools and techniques that I'll be sharing in this episode will enable you to do exactly that. But let's just focus on the process for the time being. So when I'm setting goals with my clients, and something that I encourage you to do as well, is to use what I call the SMART PP principle. And a SMART PP isn't something that a toddler does when they use the toilet or use the potty for the very first time, but it's a very specific way you can structure your goals. And SMART PP is my adaptation to the SMART goals concept, which was originally created by a guy called George Doran back in 1981. So the way that SMART goals work is, first of all, SMART PP, if it wasn't already evident, is an acronym, and I'm going to explain exactly what each of those things mean. So first of all, we want to identify your goal to be specific. So what specifically do you want to achieve? The more specific your description, or you can get your goal in the first place, the more likely you are to be able to achieve it. So rather than saying something like, I just want to make more money, it would be, I'm making X amount a month for the next however many years. That would be something that would be very, very specific. So what we're trying to do is get rid of subjective words like more, less, heavier, lighter, because they're completely subjective. We want to be able to identify. You want me to be able to explain this to a complete stranger and they know exactly what you mean. That's what we're looking for with specific. Measurable goals, that means that you can identify exactly what it is and when you reach your goal. So we want to be able to measure how far away you are and also when you get there. It's really, really important. So breaking that goal down into measurable elements, we want to be able to know when you're there. So by saying something like, I'll be happier, how do we know when you're happier? Okay, we want to get really specific. And then achievable is it humanly possible? And then achievable falls in nicely to R, which stands for realistic. So is your goal realistic? So this means investigating whether the goal really is realistic for you. And the really important thing here is to understand that the realistic part of it is for you to understand or for you to believe that it's possible within the time frame you've given yourself. Because if you don't do that, if you don't identify the time frame if you don't believe it's possible within the time frame you're giving yourself, or you just don't believe it's possible for you, then you're not even going to make the attempt. So we have to tweak and structure our goals to make sure that we deem them realistic. So again, just give you a bit of an out there example between achievable and realistic. I could say I want to lose 2 stone overnight, and whilst that is achievable, it's not really a realistic or sustainable way of doing it, because I'll have to chop off my legs, which wouldn't really help me in the long term. So that's why we have to identify the goal to be achievable and realistic. Then T stands for time frame. So deadlines are so important. I can't remember who was originally quoted to say it, but a goal without a deadline is just a daydream. And I think it's so true. Deadlines are what get most people into action. So we want to install deadlines. We want to have deadlines for our goals. We want to keep these timeframes realistic and flexible to a point, so we can keep our morale high and progress us forward in the best way possible. Then the 2 P's. So the first P stands for present tense. So the reason I ask you to set your goals in the present tense is because you'd be using language like I am or I have. And the reason this is so important is that I am are the 2 most powerful words in the English language, because they're an identity statement. And your identity is your strongest form of belief, and the strongest force in the human persona is to stay aligned with your identity. So we want to be able to embody this as an identity statement to give ourselves the best possible chance of achieving this. Then finally, we want to have it positively phrased. So again, language is so powerful, and we want to use this tool to our benefit. Where focus goes, energy flows. So the more we're focused on achieving the goal, the more we affirm it to ourselves by saying it out loud, the more likely we are to actually achieve it. So that's smart PP. And what I'm going to go through now is a process that I call closing the gap, which is basically where we identify you going from where you are to where you want to be. And this works really well when you're focusing on one particular area of your life. And what I'm going to do in the show notes of this episode, I'm going to put one of my resources called a happiness monitor, which enables you to score your happiness in 20 areas of your life. Now, when you're setting goals, particularly 90-day goals, which I'm a big advocate for, and this is what I encourage you to set on the back of this episode, is set a 90-day goal, is to identify the area that you're the most unhappy at the moment. What's the area that's really lacking at the moment? Because generally, if you improve that area, that will have the biggest positive impact on every other area of your life. So download that resource. I'll put it in the show notes and you can get access to it. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the goal. So using the SMART P principle, it might be, let's say I'm going to use health as an example here, health and fitness to contextualize it. I might say, right, I am 75 kilograms within 90 days. That's a smart PP goal. I am running half a marathon within 90 days. I am 12% body fat within 90 days. They would be 3 goals that I can work towards that are focused around my health and fitness. Now, the next step that I'm going to take is I'm going to identify what are the benefits to me achieving this. How will I look? How will I act? How will I feel? What will people say about me? What will I say about myself? So again, using my contextual example, I'm going to look strong. I'm going to look athletic. I'm going to be able to wear the certain shirt that I haven't been able to wear for a long time. I'm going to feel full of energy. I'm going to be energetic. I'm gonna be energized. I'm gonna feel vitalized. I'm gonna say I look sexy. Hopefully, other people will be saying I look sexy. First word that comes into my head. But these are some of the benefits that I'm gonna get as a result of achieving these goals. I'm gonna feel a lot more healthy. So we want to identify what the benefits are going to be. Because remember what I said right at the beginning of the podcast, the only reason we ever set any goal is to ultimately change the way we feel. So therefore, if we can identify and get aligned with that why it's so important in the beginning, we're setting ourselves up for success. The next thing we're going to look at is, well, what are the specific actions that I can take to move towards the goal that I want to achieve? So just to think of some off the top of my head, it could be I'm going to go to the gym 6 times a week. I'm going to go running 4 times a week. I'm going to eat chicken, broccoli and rice 3 times a day, 7 days a week. These are just some actions that I could come up with, and you want to come up with at least 3 to 5 actions that you can take. Now, you might add actions to it, but these are just some actions to get you going. Now, this is the really important part. One of the really important parts, there's a few important parts of this, is that we're then going to ask, based on the actions that you've just described, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to you taking those actions? Now, for me, going to the gym 6 times a week, yeah, I'm probably 8 out of 10 committed to that. Going running 4 or 5 times a week, probably 7 out of 10 committed to that. And eating chicken, broccoli and rice 3 times a day, 7 days a week, I'm 5 out of 10 committed to that. Maybe I'm 4 out of 10 committed to that. Now, if your actions are not 10 out of 10, you ain't going to do them. And that doesn't mean all of a sudden you just change all your answers to 10. What we need to do is tweak the action. So we don't want to have to rely on willpower. Because remember, when you're setting a goal, that's when you're feeling most motivated, you're most inspired. Things are going to happen, life's going to get in the way. So we want to make these actions as easy as possible so we don't have to think about doing them, and we just do them anyway, regardless of whether we want to or not. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we don't want to have to rely on willpower. And if we can say, right, I'm 10 out of 10 committed to doing that, no matter what happens, then we're going to want to do them. If we're not 10 out of 10 committed, then the challenge that you've got is only moments before, when you're doing this exercise, where you're identifying all the benefits. Now all of a sudden, life hasn't even got in the way, and you're not that committed to doing them. So that's why we want to do this. Now, the next thing we're going to identify is the roadblock. So you're going to tweak the action. So just to give you some examples, so ways that I might tweak the action to make myself 10 out of 10 is I'm going to say, right, I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week. That I am 10 out of 10 committed to. I'm 10 out of 10 committed to going running twice a week. I'm 10 out of 10 committed to eating chicken, broccoli and rice twice a day, 5 days a week. So I would tweak my actions so I'm 10 out of 10 committed. We're then next going to look at the roadblocks. What could possibly get in the way? What are going to be the hurdles? What are going to be the problems? This is effectively a pre-mortem. So rather than at the end when we're doing the goals and we maybe missed it and gone, oh, well, we didn't foresee this, we didn't foresee that. We're doing that prior to the starting the action. So some roadblocks for me, based on my example, could be I get really busy at work. I don't get time to go in the evening. Another roadblock could be I pull a muscle, so I can't go running. Another roadblock could be I've got a bit of a sweet tooth. I'm a big fan of Galaxy chocolate, so I could find myself wanting to eat chocolate after dinner. That's just some examples of some roadblocks. Write down as many roadblocks as you could possibly think of things that are going to get in the way of you achieving your goal. Then we're going to identify what are the roadblock actions. So, like I said, we're doing this pre-mortem. We want to identify now what can we do to prevent these actions happening. Now, stuff's going to happen. Life's going to get in the way. But if we've got a plan that we can respond as soon as something happens or prevent it happening, we're setting ourselves up again for success and actually giving ourselves the best possible chance of achieving these goals. So some things for me would be, a roadblock action could be, I'm going to exercise in the morning, because then no matter how busy I get at work, I know that I've done my exercise for the day. I'm going to I could pull a muscle. Well, what I'm going to do is I want to make sure I stretch before and after, and I'm going to warm up appropriately. They're going to prevent me from getting injured. Then another thing with regards to Galaxy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the chocolate out the house. I'm going to give it away to people so that I don't have to have that. Now, yes, I could get in the car and go to the shop and buy some chocolate or whatever after dinner, but I'm a lot less likely to do that than I am just to walk to the kitchen cupboard. So that would deem as a roadblock action. Now, the last thing we want to do, and this again is something that so many people fail to do when they're setting their goals, is give yourself a reward. What's going to be the celebration? How are you going to reward yourself for achieving the goal, and know what that's going to be? So as well as the emotive benefit that you're going to get, what's going to be a little reward that you're going to give yourself in order to ensure that you achieve it? So that's the process. Now, I have got some top tips that I love to get my clients to do, and I'd love for you to do as well, so that you can ensure that you're achieving the goals that you want to do. Now, one of the first top tips is every week read your goals so they're fresh in your mind. Now, if you haven't listened to the first episode that we did, which is creating your vision, and creating your North Star and North Star trajectory, I highly recommend you do. And I recommend that you read all of your goals, ultimate 10-year, 5-year, 3-year, 1-year, 90-day, 30-day, monthly, weekly goals every single week. Then what I recommend you do is get a highlighter. If you've got your goals written out, or you can change the cell of a sort of an Excel spreadsheet if you need to, if you've got them typed up on Excel or in Word, and highlight how much of your goal that you've done. So for example, if you've got your monthly goals, then every week on a Sunday night or a Monday, go through your monthly goals and highlight a percentage of the goal that's done. So let's say in week 1 I did 25%. Then I would highlight 25% of my goal. If in week 2 I did none, then I would leave it at the 25% highlighted. In week 3, if I did another 25%, I'm now 50% of the way there. And now in week 4, I've got to do 50% of my goal. So you've got a visual way of seeing the progress that you're making. It's really, really important that you identify what that progress is that you're making. Another top tip is set what I call the week ahead tasks, or TWAT for short. You set your week ahead tasks. So these are micro actions that you're going to be taking every single week to ensure you're progressing and moving forward. And then finally, another top tip is be held accountable. Share your goals with someone. Find an accountability partner. And share your goals, so then you're more likely to achieve your goal when things get done. Because you've got to remember, our whole life, we've been conditioned to be accountable. When we're born, we're accountable to our parents. We go to school, we're accountable to our teachers. We go to work, we're accountable to our bosses. Then we go into the big wide world and we want to do stuff for ourselves. We wonder why stuff doesn't get done. It's because we're not being held accountable. Now, accountability works because of two sides of the same coin. We either want to avoid looking bad or you want to look good. So get yourself accountable and you're more likely to achieve your goals. Another thing that I really encourage you to do and sort of introduce this concept is being Kaizen. Now, Kaizen is a Japanese word that we actually don't have a direct translation for in English, despite the 500,000 words that we have in the English language. But the nearest translation would mean change good. And Kaizen is a long-term approach to work that systematically seeks to achieve small incremental change in the way that we work in order to improve efficiency and quality. And I believe that if we want to achieve mastery in any area of our life, then it's actually about being Kaizen, because mastery is not a destination. It's a process of constantly improving, continuous, never-ending improvement, continual improvement to continue to grow and evolve and get better and better and better. So I hope that's been useful. That's setting goals. Obviously, if you do have any questions, I highly recommend that you get yourself into the Make It Happen community Facebook group. I'll happily answer any questions you might have about your goal setting. And if there's anything else I can help you with, then please feel free to reach out. If you've enjoyed this episode and you found it beneficial, again, please leave us a 5-star review and a little review of what you think and how it's been useful, so that can help other people who might be looking to achieve goals and learn more about goal setting as well. So guys, thank you very much. Until next time, make it happen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast. Make sure you join Will's free Facebook group, the Make It Happen community. Please support the show by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud or Google Play. Share this episode with at least one friend you think would benefit from it, and give Will a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts. Until next time, make it happen.